Scorpio, something is interfering with your clarity and your cash flow, and it's coming from someone whose name begins with the letter S. You didn't land on this video by accident. You were led here. And the moment you hit play, a spiritual truth began to unfold. Between October 3rd and 5th, you are stepping into an energetic window where everything hidden begins to rise. Whether you felt a fog clouding your mind or a strange hesitation around money, goals, or even conversations, you're not imagining it. You're perceiving it. And what you're sensing is real. There is a spiritual disruption moving through your field, and it's tied to a person whose influence has begun to twist your inner compass. You might already know who they are. Someone whose presence always leaves you second-guessing yourself. Someone who means well, but somehow drains your energy, delays your vision, and disrupts your divine rhythm. Let me be clear, this is not a message of fear. This is a message of awakening. This moment was written into your chart. And today, you are reclaiming the power to see through what's been blinding you. Welcome to Miracle of the Sign, where divine wisdom, universal energy, and sacred healing converge. You are not just watching a horoscope, you are stepping into a spiritual appointment. And Scorpio, as one of the most intuitive and transformative signs of the zodiac, you already know that truth rarely shouts, it whispers in moments like this. In 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, the word reminds us that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. That scripture is your shield this week. Because as the Sun squares Pluto, your ruling planet, you are being asked to rise into spiritual clarity, emotional sovereignty, and financial discernment. This message is not about them. It's about you. Your ability to recognize where your energy has been entangled and your courage to lovingly step back into alignment with who you truly are. So take a breath. Place your hand over your heart. And ask, is there someone in my life whose presence feels heavier than helpful? If a name with S came to mind, trust that knowing. Your intuition isn't broken, it's being recalibrated. Now, let me take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence here. Every view, every comment, every subscriber helps expand the reach of this sacred message, not just for you, but for everyone seeking clarity and spiritual strength. Thank you for being part of this growing circle of light. And trust me, Scorpio, you'll want to stay with me until the very last second of this message. Because what the universe is about to reveal could shift the direction of your path in a way no one, not even you, expected. If you've been seeing repeating numbers lately, 888, 111, 444, don't ignore them. They're divine confirmations. Leave a comment below to affirm your alignment. Share the angel number you've been seeing, or simply write, I choose clarity. I choose spiritual freedom. Let's go deeper now. What's coming next might just break the chain that's been holding you back. Scorpio, as we move forward together, you may begin to feel that the events unfolding in your life right now are not mere coincidences, but divine invitations. During this precise period, October 3rd to 5th, the cosmos doesn't just whisper. It confronts. The Sun in Libra forms a tense square with Pluto, your ruling planet, initiating a cosmic crucible where truth and illusion collide. This alignment isn't soft. It's powerful, transformative, and unflinchingly honest. And for you, it feels like walking into a mirror where every crack you've ignored reflects back with undeniable clarity. Pluto is not just about destruction. It's about exposure, the sacred unearthing of what has long been buried beneath layers of politeness, performance, and protection. And the sun, representing your conscious awareness, is demanding light in every shadow. That's why during this window, you may feel agitated without knowing why. Conversations turn confusing. Your clarity around money, purpose, and even relationships begins to blur. But this isn't chaos. It's sacred disruption. It's the soul's way of revealing what no longer belongs in the space where your destiny is trying to grow. This moment is not about making life decisions under pressure, but about becoming aware of how pressure reveals what you've been denying. Have you been nodding in conversations that leave your spirit tired? Saying yes to things that silence your instincts? Let yourself sit with that. The exhaustion isn't random. It's your intuition waving its arms, asking for your attention. In the language of astrology, squares demand action, but Pluto's squares demand truth. And sometimes that truth comes dressed as a person, a memory, or a recurring situation that quietly drains your power. As someone who walks with deep emotional waters, you often sense things others overlook. And yet, even the most perceptive souls can be pulled away from their truth when the voice of another grows louder than their own. The person whose name starts with S may not be your enemy. But their presence might be the catalyst your soul has been waiting for to finally see how far you've strayed from your inner voice. This is what happens when light reveals the false warmth of artificial glow, a version of care that comforts your fear, not your truth. Take a breath with me here. Gently place your hand over your heart. Ask yourself, whose energy lingers in my decisions? Let the answer rise without judgment. You are not weak for realizing your boundaries were crossed. You are strong for being willing to witness it. The discomfort you're feeling now is the beginning of energetic sovereignty, a call to return to the still, quiet center within you where your clarity has always lived. In moments like these, I often turn to scripture, not for rules, but for reminders. One of the most powerful ones comes from Psalm 46 verse 10, "Be still, and know that I am God." Stillness isn't passivity. It is divine recognition. And you, Scorpio, are being called to be still enough to know. Not to doubt. Not to explain. Simply to know what is real, what is aligned, and what needs to be gently but firmly released. God doesn't speak in confusion. Truth doesn't coil. It clears. This is a time when your awareness becomes your protection. You don't need to fix everything right now. You only need to notice without excuse, without guilt. That noticing is the doorway. That noticing is the prayer. And once you see what's been stealing your clarity, you'll no longer give it permission to stay. The discomfort you're feeling is not a setback. It's an invitation to begin again, from a place of truth. Not filtered through fear. Not compromised by past patterns. But grounded in the quiet confidence that comes from real spiritual maturity. Scorpio, you are not being shaken to break. You are being stirred awake. The darkness you sense is not the absence of light, it is the place where your own is about to rise. Let's go deeper. Your breakthrough begins with awareness. And your healing begins with the courage to honor what that awareness reveals. Scorpio, what you're stepping into now is not just awareness, it's discernment. And this discernment doesn't arrive with flashing red lights or dramatic exits. It comes subtly, quietly, like a shift in air pressure when someone enters the room. You feel it before you understand it. That's the essence of energetic manipulation at its most refined. It doesn't scream. It softens you, silences you, and confuses you just enough that you begin to doubt what you once knew so clearly. And often, it comes from someone who wears the mask of care, someone who calls themselves a friend, a family member, or a trusted confidant. But the impact they leave behind is unmistakable: self-doubt, emotional fog, and a shrinking of your inner voice. This is why, in the cosmic lens of astrology and the wisdom of tarot, we must talk about the moon. The moon doesn't lie, but it does obscure. It governs illusion, emotional tides, and the things we feel but cannot name. When the moon shows up in your reading, especially in a moment like this, it's not just pointing to confusion, it's revealing that something has been cloaked. It's saying, you're feeling this way for a reason. Trust that reason, even if the facts haven't surfaced yet. This is where the energy of the High Priestess steps in. She doesn't explain, she observes. She reminds you that your knowing does not require external proof. And the moment you stop needing someone else to validate what you feel, that is when you reclaim your power. And here's what makes this dynamic even more complex: the person causing the disturbance may not even know they're doing it. That's what makes it so dangerous. They may believe they are helping, loving, advising. They may even offer to manage your finances, give you guidance, or become entangled in your dreams, all under the guise of support. But ask yourself, do I feel stronger after our conversations, or smaller? Do I feel clarity or confusion? Peace or tension? That's where the card of justice becomes critical. This card isn't about punishment, it's about energetic alignment. Justice asks you to evaluate not just what's fair to others, but what's fair to you. And sometimes the most just thing you can do is choose yourself, even if it means stepping away from someone you once trusted. Especially if the price of staying is your inner truth. There is a form of manipulation that doesn't control you with force but with guilt. It reminds you of how much they've done for you, makes you question whether you're overreacting, and gently pulls you away from your center. You begin to shape your choices around their comfort instead of your calling. And that's when your path begins to blur, not because it disappeared, but because you handed over your map. If a person with the letter S in their name came to mind earlier, don't dismiss it. Names carry vibration. And when you experience recurring hesitation, confusion, or emotional depletion around someone, that's not random. That's energetic residue. You're not being too sensitive, you're picking up on what's real before it's visible. The greatest danger of manipulation is that it trains you to stop trusting yourself. But right now, the universe and your soul's urging you to reverse that pattern. Take a moment today and write the name of the person who leaves you feeling energetically off balance. This isn't about blame, it's about reclaiming clarity. Underneath that name, write this affirmation: I don't hate them. But I choose to protect my mind, my finances, and my light. These words are your boundary. They don't need to be said aloud. They need to be anchored. There's something else I want to ask you, something tender, something honest. Have you ever tried to keep someone in your life not because they made you feel alive, but because you felt guilty letting go? Even though deep down, you knew you were no longer yourself around them? That's the heartbreak of growth. It often requires you to walk away from what's familiar before it becomes safe again. But Scorpio, you were never meant to dim your radiance to preserve someone else's comfort. And now that you're remembering that, watch how quickly your clarity returns. Scorpio, as we continue through this journey together, the conversation now shifts from subtle emotional clarity to something that lives in the physical world: your money, your stability, your future. And while the spiritual realm often speaks in whispers and symbols, your financial life speaks in decisions. It's no surprise that during October 3rd to 5th, the cosmic weather is charged with the energy of Jupiter and Venus, two planetary forces that govern growth, expansion, value, and abundance. These aren't soft energies. They come with momentum, with blessings, but also with tests of discernment. Jupiter is the magnifier. Whatever you're focusing on during this time, it expands. If you are nurturing self-worth, vision, and grounded financial clarity, Jupiter will accelerate it. But if your energy is scattered, if your money is entangled in guilt, people-pleasing, or unspoken expectations, Jupiter simply amplifies the chaos. That's where Venus steps in. Venus isn't only about love. She rules personal values and material worth. She asks, what do you truly believe you deserve? And her answer shapes everything you attract, especially when it comes to income, opportunities, and the kind of lifestyle you unconsciously permit or reject. But here's the complication: Mercury has just been retrograde, and its shadow still lingers. This means communication can still be clouded, especially when it involves contracts, verbal agreements, or financial advice. And yes, it means be especially cautious of anyone offering help with money right now, especially if their name begins with S. The danger isn't always in the deal itself, but in the energetic exchange behind it. If someone is offering support while simultaneously feeding your self-doubt, you're not receiving a gift, you're accepting a silent transaction where your independence becomes their leverage. This is not the time to chase approval through generosity or financial validation. This is the time to remember that your worth was never meant to be proven through productivity or sacrifice. Ask yourself gently but honestly, am I investing in my future, or am I just trying to prove something to someone who probably isn't even watching anymore? That question alone can change your entire financial landscape. This is where self-help becomes sacred. One of the most powerful exercises you can do during this transit is rewrite your financial intentions every morning. Not just a budget, but an emotional check-in. Ask, what energy am I carrying into my relationship with money today? Because money is not just currency, it's current. It responds to your beliefs, your emotional state, and the stories you've been telling yourself since childhood. And Scorpio, you are a sign that understands depth better than most. So go deeper. Not just into what you want to earn, but what you want to feel about the way you earn it. The beauty of this moment is that the universe isn't asking you to become someone else. It's asking you to return to that inner compass that once guided you before the world told you to doubt it. That's why you are your own wisest advisor. When you listen to the clean voice of your intuition, not the voice warped by fear or comparison, you become an unstoppable force of grounded prosperity. You'll know when something aligns because it won't drain you. It won't need to be justified. It will feel like clarity. Like exhale. To support this energetic clarity, you can also work with color as frequency. Surround yourself with deep purple, a protective hue that shields your mind from outside noise. Use emerald green when you need to dissolve jealousy or competition, especially in professional environments. And call on metallic gold when it's time to activate your personal power, to walk into a room knowing that what you carry can't be bought or borrowed, only embodied. You're not being paranoid for questioning what you once accepted. You're waking up to the spaces where you've given away your worth in small, unnoticed ways. And now, you're reclaiming it not by force, but by remembering that you never had to earn it in the first place. Your value was never in question. Only your willingness to fully own it. Now is the time to shift. And it doesn't require a dramatic leap, just a quiet return. A realignment. A willingness to say, I deserve more, not because I've worked harder but because I finally see clearly. And when that clarity meets cosmic timing, abundance no longer has a reason to wait. It will move not toward the version of you that needs to hustle for approval, but toward the one who finally understands, peace is the most profitable decision you'll ever make. Scorpio, as you begin to clear away the mental fog and reset your relationship with money and worth, something even more sacred comes into focus, the condition of your heart. What you allow. What you tolerate. What you still yearn for, even after you've outgrown it. This is not just about romance, it's about receptivity. And at this stage of your journey, the universe is inviting you into a deeper, softer, more empowered understanding of love. Not the kind that burns quickly, leaving only smoke, but the kind that holds, that breathes, that honors. The presence of judgment and the Empress in your reading is a profound one. Judgment marks a moment of personal reckoning, not in fear but in grace. It's the awareness that you can no longer pretend not to know what your soul has always whispered. And the Empress is your invitation to receive, to nurture, to grow. When these two archetypes meet, the message is clear. You're entering a season of love that is aligned with your healing, not your wounding. One that mirrors back not your insecurity, but your evolution. You've been through a cycle of love where your light had to be softened, your opinions edited, your dreams postponed just to maintain the illusion of harmony. Maybe you believed, for a while, that this was what compromise looked like. But it wasn't. It was self-abandonment wrapped in the language of love. And you're no longer available for that. Real love doesn't ask you to shrink. It meets you where you are and expands with you. That's the shift you're being asked to receive now, a love that begins with your decision to honor your own wholeness. Even if it means walking away from something familiar. Even if it means embracing solitude for a while, so your energy can recalibrate without being shaped by someone else's expectations. Imagine your heart as a garment, one that has weathered seasons, storms, and summers. The love you once wore may have fit beautifully back then. But now, it pinches in places it once flowed. That's not a failure. It's growth. You're not ungrateful for what it gave you. You're simply ready for something that doesn't require you to hold your breath to keep it from unraveling. This is the time to choose love, not because you're afraid of being alone, but because you're no longer afraid of being fully seen. Write it down. Let it become a quiet promise to yourself. I choose love for the newest version of me, not because I'm lonely, but because I am finally ready for what's real. Let that sentence be your sacred declaration. In the stillness that follows this awareness, you may feel both grief and relief. That's okay. Releasing what no longer serves doesn't mean it was worthless. It means its time is done. And now, space is being made for something truer. Something quieter. Something that requires no performance, only presence. And when it arrives, whether through a person, a feeling, or simply through the peace in your own body, it will not demand. It will not confuse. It will not threaten your freedom or question your worth. It will feel like home. Like softness. Like exhale. This is your invitation to be bold in your heart again. To stop dressing your soul in someone else's silence. To stop explaining why your standards have risen. You do not need to apologize for the strength you found in your healing. You only need to stay rooted in it and let love rise to meet you there. Let's keep walking. What's ahead is not another test, it's the reflection of everything you've chosen to release. And you're ready. Scorpio, after navigating through the hidden manipulations, the energetic imbalances, and the quiet reckoning within your relationships, you've arrived to the sacred threshold of integration. This is not just the end of a chapter. It's a moment of realignment, where your body, your breath, and your beliefs begin to speak the same language again. Healing isn't something that happens only in your thoughts or emotions. True healing is embodied. It lives in the rhythm of your mornings, the choices in your meals, the quality of your stillness, and the boundaries you keep not just for others, but for yourself. Your body is the vessel that holds everything you've experienced. It remembers things your mind has tried to forget, stores emotions your words couldn't express, and often carries the weight of what was never yours to begin with. This is why the simplest rituals done consistently have the power to change everything. Begin with your mornings. When you rise, instead of rushing, take a few moments to nourish yourself intentionally. Add turmeric, orange, or cinnamon into your routine. These are not just ingredients, they are activators. Turmeric reduces inflammation not only in your body but also in your energetic field. Orange lifts your spirit and clears stagnant emotions. Cinnamon, warm and grounding, connects you to your inner fire, your will, your direction, your third chakra, which governs confidence and purpose. As you support your body, give your breath something to hold. Just 5 minutes. Sit. Inhale. Exhale. And as you breathe, whisper to yourself, I am returning to myself. Let this be your mantra, not as a wish, but as a truth you are reclaiming. This practice doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be yours. And over time, you'll begin to feel your nervous system soften, your thoughts slow down, and your energy root itself again, not in fear, but in presence. This leads us into the subtle art of energetic release. You may have heard about people cutting cords or performing elaborate rituals, but sometimes the most profound act of letting go is simply naming what's no longer aligned and letting the flame carry it. Write down the name of the person, the pattern, or the belief that's still clinging to your field. You don't need to write a long explanation. Just the name. Just the weight. And when you're ready, burn it not in anger, but in reverence. Let it go with love, so it no longer lives in the quiet corners of your spirit. And if you've been seeing numbers like 888, 444, or 111 lately, understand this: you are not imagining things. These patterns are real. In numerology, 888 is the sacred code of rebirth and financial liberation. For 44 is the reminder that you are divinely protected and surrounded by support. 111 signals alignment, that your thoughts and reality are coming into sync. These numbers are not predictions. They are affirmations from the universe that you're on the edge of something powerful and that you're not walking into it alone. Remember, you don't heal because you push harder. You heal because you pause long enough to listen. You choose softness over survival. You choose daily devotion over grand gestures. And with each small act, each breath, each sip of warm tea, Each moment of reflection you signal to the universe, I'm ready to be whole again. Let yourself feel that. Not as a concept, but as a truth waking up inside you. You are not the same person you were when this message began. And that matters. Let your healing be gentle. Let it be yours. Let it be now. Scorpio, if you've made it this far, then something deep within you is already shifting, maybe quietly, maybe subtly, but undeniably. You are not confused. You are not too sensitive. You are not overreacting. What you are is awake. You're sensing the invisible layers, hearing what isn't said out loud, and standing at the edge of your own expansion. This isn't about drama or proving anything. This is about clarity, the kind that doesn't demand permission or approval. The kind that arrives like a deep breath after holding yourself small for too long. You are not here to shrink so someone else can feel more comfortable. You are not here to apologize for your depth, your truth, your intuition, or your healing. And you are certainly not here to keep playing a role in a story that no longer reflects who you've become. There is a divine invitation unfolding in your life right now, not to return to the old, but to rise into something entirely new. And that doesn't happen by force. It happens the moment you finally stop asking, "Am I too much?" and start asking, "What have I outgrown that's keeping me small?" This is not the time to seek external validation. This is the time to trust your own inner knowing. So take a moment with me now. Place your hand over your heart. Close your eyes if you need to. And ask yourself, where am I still giving away my light, just to be accepted by someone who doesn't even see it? And deeper still, who might I become, if I chose to let that go fully, freely, without guilt? These are the questions that change your path, Scorpio. These are the moments that recalibrate your soul. The universe is not asking you to be perfect. It's simply asking you to be honest. With yourself. With your truth. With what you're ready to release and what you're finally prepared to receive. Let me say this as clearly as I can. You don't owe your presence to people who confuse, drain, or diminish you. You don't need to explain your boundaries, justify your distance, or earn love by performing. You are love. You are light. And your very being is a permission slip to shine as you are. No edits, no shrinking, no apologies. So if this message stirred something inside of you, I invite you now to claim it. Leave a comment below with the angel number that's been following you lately: 888, 444, 111, or simply write, "I choose clarity. I choose freedom." Let that be your declaration to the universe, and to yourself. And if you feel seen, supported, and spiritually aligned with what we shared today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Miracle of the Sign. Every action you take here deepens your connection with this growing soul family, and allows these messages to reach others who may need them just as much as you did. Thank you, from the depths of my heart, for your time, your presence, and your trust. You are not alone. You are not broken. And you are not behind. You are exactly where your healing begins. You don't need to shrink to be loved. You are the light. And today, you choose freedom.